Yeah, we want to read it.
Joe's going to be student. Okay. All right, folks, I'd like to be in this caucus. This caucus meeting is going to begin. We have 4 items this evening for action. I would like to have all these read by title alone. That's okay with council. Thank you. Item A, Don, you want to do that?
Yep.
Item B, John. Item C, Mayor. Item D, Don again. Okay. Also, we're going to have an executive session afterwards this evening, and I'll explain that when we get up to that. Is there anything else? Any changes to the agenda? If not, I'll call this meeting in order. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Hunsar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
All right. Item 4. You have the minutes from the May 7th council meeting. Are there any revisions to those minutes? If not, please stand up. I'm sorry. You okay?
No, I didn't see. No, I'm just saying no.
If not, please stand up. Approved and on record. Under reading of communications, Mr. Dragish.
Nothing.
Nothing. Mr. Morvay.
Yeah, I have a few. Number 1, just for the record, and believe me, it doesn't matter to me, but the JT, the Canfield Crier, you had the mayor was talking about Edward Street. It was actually me that was talking about Edward Street. So just FYI, and like I say, it doesn't matter, but just for the record, just wanted to tell you that. I was asked to follow up on the Edward Street with the school kids going and the buses and no sidewalks, and Joe and I talked about that a little bit about that today, and if there was any plans to put crossing guards or any protection for the children.
I haven't had an opportunity to sit down with the superintendent yet.
Okay. You were going to address Chapel Lane a little bit later, Joe?
Yes.
Okay. Had some complaints, and I talked to Joe about this earlier this week. The car wash behind Perkins is starting to look like a junkyard. There's cars there, and we talked about that, and Joe was going to address that.
That's a difficult situation, and we talked about, we had granted them a non-conforming use permit to operate a body shop and a kind of a restoration type shop there. And what's happening is they're parking the vehicles that they're restoring out there, and that's what's giving the appearance of a junkyard. I don't know how we can...
Well, that's the first I'm hearing of it. I'll be happy to take a look at that from a zoning standpoint.
The vehicles that are being used and restored as part of the business. We had the similar type issue on West Main with the active body shop that's there.
I'll take a look at that.
Okay, thank you. Joe, we talked about this along with Chapel Lane. Maybe we could tie this in, but I was asked again about that little road that separates the 2 houses on Dartmouth.
Yeah, we could take care of that with our resurfacing program this year. I shared that with the mayor when we were out there looking at Chapel.
Okay. On High Street, talked about this to you the other day, around the 100 block.
110.
Grass is real high. Now I do understand I can't even get onto my yard, and so it could be a situation that people are just waiting until this mud goes away before they cut grass.
So that particular property there is in foreclosure. I did get the response back from the letter that we sent. Today was their deadline to cut it. It hasn't been cut as of noon today. I don't assume it was cut the rest of the day. So our guys can address that and then just put it on the taxes at this point. And then any future violations, we don't have to send notice. We can just go in there and take care of it and put it on the taxes.
Good.
That one will be addressed this week.
Yeah. I even noticed some people cutting their grass this evening. That was extremely hot.
And absolutely, I was somewhat over the last 5 days, I gave everybody the benefit of the doubt because I have the same situation with my own property.
Yeah.
I can't get all of it cut, and with the weather, I've not issued any letters, but we've got a string of nice days coming up. If
Yeah.
the yards aren't attended to after the weekend, we'll definitely get on it.
I think we can have some patience in this
That's
time.
what I've asked people that have called in. We've had a series of rain, and just I'm giving everybody the benefit of the doubt, give them the weekend to get everything in shape.
And the only other thing I have on my sheet is our hitching post on the corner of 224. What is that? Did anybody ever find out what it is?
It's been given more names. I've not gotten anything back yet from the county engineer's office as to whether it's a historic marker or anything. Once I do get that call back, we'll do something with it.
Yeah. I don't, the way it sets it almost looks
I
like
certainly
it's
don't want to destroy history.
Right, yeah. But also the way it looks is it's almost like a liability, someone would run into that or, so I don't know. But anyway, we're working on it, so. That's it. Mayor?
I'm glad that Councilman Morvay brought up the fact that he said what he said about Edwards Street rather than me. Had I said it, it would have been much more eloquent.
Mr. Reno, anything to add for?
One piece of correspondence, and that was a letter from ODOT that they will be holding their pre-construction conference for the signalization project next Wednesday, May 28th at 10 a.m. That's at the Akron offices of ODOT. At that time, they'll set a starting date and give us a little bit of framework as to when that project will take place. Our office definitely be represented there.
Very good. Okay, item 6, the reports of committees and the city manager. Mr. Dragish? Nothing. Mr. Morvay?
Yeah, so we had a fire district meeting Monday, and we had interviewed architects the week before, and we have come to the conclusion that BSHM, which is Baylog, Steins, Hendricks, and Manchester, located in Youngstown, Ohio, will negotiate with them for a architecture contract to help us with the punch list and drawings and whatever it is that we need to do to build a fire station. And so that was Monday evening that was determined. And other than that, the fire district continues to just do an outstanding job. We have one of the, I think, one of the most qualified people in the chief's position with Don Hutchinson, and just can't tell you the kind of work and effort he puts into making that department great. So. That's it.
Very good. Mayor?
Nothing.
Nothing to add. Okay, Mr. Reno?
And the reports, we have 4 items of business to attend to this evening. The first being an ordinance authorizing the city manager to purchase a vehicle and equipment, and this would be for the police department. The cost of the vehicle will be covered under forfeited funds from the police department, will be out of the general fund. Next I have an item declaring surplus property and authorizing its disposal. And again, this is a number of vehicles that have been accumulated through forfeitures, as well as 2 pieces of equipment from the Public Works. We had budgeted for the replacement of the dump truck and a backhoe. Both of those items are on there, the surplus list. We're not expecting delivery of the dump truck till July sometime, but we can go ahead and take care of the action of declaring it surplus so that when it does become available, we can just make that transaction. Item C is the annual appropriation ordinance, and what I've done is gone through some of the items that we didn't have budgeted. If you have any specific questions on any of those, I outlined them in our memo. I just put in the 10,000 extra for this North Broad Street safety upgrade, because I assume we'll be closing that out in the next week or so, and we'll have a balance of items that were non-performed, items that were performed. I don't anticipate that we'll use the 10,000, but I didn't want to have to wait until next month to come back with the final number. So we can close that out. Whatever balance of money is available, we'll just return back to the general fund. The last item was the motion changing the times and dates of the council meetings for July and August. And, go ahead and set those dates if that's okay with everybody. I had mentioned the pre-construction meeting at ODOT next week. Property maintenance has been a big issue this last week. I know Patty's been taking a lot of the calls, and we've talked to a number of residents, and I've asked them to just be patient again because of the wet weather that we've had. One issue that has come up again, and I know we wrestled with this a year or so ago, vacant properties where there's no dwelling unit, and I think John and I talked about this one as well. Our regulation really doesn't cover that. It covers our property maintenance, deals with property with a principal dwelling on it. And it's a difficult thing to try and regulate because some lots have trees and just nature where others may be in a subdivision and it's a vacant lot. Our requirement is just to cut the right-of-way portion of that at this time. One of them that came up was one of the homes that we demolished a couple years ago on Northview. The lot was purchased through sheriff's sale, and they maintained it according to our regulation, just the front right-of-way. The neighbors are concerned now because they take care of their yards, they manicure their yards. Between the two homes is an area with grass or weeds that are basically foot high. And how we regulate that, I don't know. It's going to be...
Well, it is a difficult situation when you have some natural, vegetation on a lot that's never been developed, and nobody would ever think that that needs mowed or trimmed or what have you, and then you have a former structured lot, and then the weeds start growing. So we do have it's about a 3-foot area, off the roadway for site clearance and those kind of issues. But we'll look at it. We'll continue to look at that. We provided some alternative ordinances. We just didn't do anything in terms of adopting them because they seem just as unworkable.
We have, and there's a number of those throughout the city in all areas of the city. There's new subdivisions where the lots aren't sold yet. Again, you have brand new homes, and then right next to you have an open field.
Yeah.
Right. I wonder, like a standardized letter, just being, very cordial and asking them to, perhaps clean that area up or whatever.
Attempt something of that nature.
Yeah.
Again, the brush pickup was concluded this week, and we've had our guys as well as Buckeye do kind of a final sweep, and there's still 1 or 2 that are still out there. If you hear of any, let us know, and our guys will get that taken care of. Public Works have witnessed people still putting stuff out there, and I certainly don't want to encourage that. I mean, we got to end this. And lastly, I'd just like to remind everybody of the Memorial Day services on Monday. That will begin at 10 a.m. at the Village Green. They will process down to the cemetery, and then from the cemetery back to the War Vets Museum. It's a nice program. If anybody has the opportunity to be there, I know most of the council will be participating in that as well, but remind the public to get out there and support our vets. I did want to talk about the flooding or the situation up on Chapel Lane. The mayor and I had visited the site again, and we discussed it at our staff meeting on Monday with the city engineer. He remembered being out there last year. What we're going to do is try and get a fresh estimate on what needs to be done out there, and we have a better idea of what the cost may be and decide what we want to do or where we want to go with that. It's something that I think the majority of council feels we need to take a look at. That's all I have.
Joe, go out Wadsworth and go east on 224.
Okay.
And right at the new Farmers Bank branch on the corner there where our hitching post is, there's they keep hanging that up. There's a manhole and it's probably about 2 or 3 inches below the pavement, the grade.
That's going to be taken care of as well. That was under the ODOT project that we did last year. If you recall, they addressed the one closest to 46, but then the weather turned. They never did get that one. Then they owe us that. There was an adjustment to the manhole right at the north end of the village green.
Yeah.
And then the restriping. They were going to come back and restripe. And again, it was a result of the weather coming in and not being able to get hot mix and the project done.
And you're right, there is on the north end there is a little bit of a dip, and I think it is.
There's a manhole there also that needs a riser on it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I was going to bring up. The striping is just about non-existent.
They basically striped in the snow.
Yeah.
They recognized that and told us that they would include that in their project.
Yeah. And then phase 2, any idea, any guesses when they're going to try to finish that?
That should be wrapped up, I'm hopeful, next week. You know, if the weather stays nice. All they have left now is the regrading, reseeding, and the pavement portion. And they've been notified of the, not having to wait for fabric to take care of that portion. And we did have one other hydrant. There was a hydrant that was called in the plans to be adjusted to grade, which it's obsolete. So we typically replace a dozen hydrants each year. We're going to use that as one of the ones that we'll replace and just have them adjusted. We'll pay for the hydrant and have them put it in place. That's probably the only outstanding item that I'm aware of at this time.
That's the hydrant down by St. Mike's.
Yes. It's kind of down the hole right now.
For the record, let's show that Chuck Tisch arrived at 6:11 p.m. this evening.
Thank you.
You want to speak? Go ahead. Absolutely, Chuck. Go ahead.
Manager. Did the inspection on the 24-inch line go on last Thursday?
No, we definitely have a date, though. I got a call just about a half hour ago or an hour ago from Carl. We're going to do that on next Thursday, the 29th. So that dig will take place on that particular day. He's been working on another project down in Wellsville, and he got delayed because of the rain and wants to get that wrapped up so he doesn't have to bring his equipment up for one day and then take it back to Wellsville.
He being Carl?
Carl Myers, who we have a contract with. And that'll certainly fall within our deadlines of getting our work done and meeting the grant requirements. So we schedule that for next Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, what time is it again? Thursday? What time was it coming? You said? What time?
It'll start early in the morning.
Okay.
That's on Route 11.
Okay. Right, good enough. Okay. Mark,
I don't have a formal report tonight, but I do need an executive session, a brief one after council to discuss imminent and pending litigation.
Gotcha. No problem.
Thank you very much.
Okay, under recognition of persons desiring to speak before council, may I ask you to step forward to the podium, state your name and address clearly for the record, and keep your comments brief. Mr. McKeon.
Good evening, I'm Frank McKeon. I reside at 220 Glenview. I'm not sure what brief means, Mr. Rogers, but I'm going to do my best. A couple things I'd like to talk about. I'm a little disappointed and disturbed by the events that transpired at our last meeting, specifically the presentation of the Tree City flag. Here we had Mrs. Belfiore sitting here in the front row, a member of that board, not invited to be in the picture. You had Mr. Whitehouse, who took time to go down to Cambridge for a whole day for the Tree City ceremonies, not invited to be in the picture. It seems to me it's a gross oversight and it's inexcusable. These people are on that board and they should be recognized for their efforts. There's another person, not on the committee, sort of an unsung hero on this board. That's Mrs. Burnett. She does the paperwork for this board. She fills out the papers for the Tree City, she crosses the T's, dots the I's, and sends it in. Everybody gets credit, not her. She should be thanked for her efforts. We haven't heard much about this assisted living project that is sitting out there in limbo. I don't know what's going on, but just to get my oar in the water, if anything does happen on that, my opinion, the city should, if that could be transferred to the city, whatever it takes to get that done, I don't think we should be sharing any of the taxes with anybody. If we're going to have to service that with the city functions and utilities, we should get the tax money from that. The people who came here and presented that also said that, you know, these jobs are going to be for Canfield. Well, if that ever transpires, I think they ought to put that in writing that, you know, a certain percentage, 60%, 2/3, whatever it is, of the employees there should come from the city and the township. Let's not sell our souls just to get that in here. The fire station, a new fire station, it's probably, how's that get paid for? Who's going to pay for that? Anybody know?
You're already paying for it.
Already am. Not going to be any increase in... All right, that sounds good.
We have a district, Frank. It's
Yes,
a fire
I understand.
district between the city
But
and the county.
somewhere they get the money, that's where the extra money's going to come from.
We do a very prudent job of
That's great.
saving our money for equipment and future expansion, and that's where it's coming from.
Great. Because there's a lot of development that took place up in that area of the city. I don't know if anything can be done about this or not, but we seem to be invaded with coyotes. The other day I was out in my front yard, 2 houses up, it's middle of the afternoon, this coyote goes trotting by. Those things can pick off family pets and animals and that. I think they're afraid of people, but they're here. They're here. And, you know, what can be done about it? I don't know. That's what we got you guys for. I'm glad to see the Chief of Police is here. Thank you for coming. I certainly wish the Chief would be here at every meeting. I also wish our Finance Director would be here, the Zoning Inspector. They should, in my opinion, all be here. Most of the communities around here have those people present. I don't know why we don't. And lastly, I would like to ask that all these items on the agenda be given a second reading. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Frank. Mr. Eastman?
Steve Easton, 280 Glenview Drive. Mr. Marino pretty well answered my first question about limb pickup. Just wanted to mention Neff Drive has been covered with limbs for at least 3 or 4 weeks, and don't miss Neff Drive. The other item is paving. Our streets have gone through a real severe winter, and I wondered, is there a schedule of streets to be paved that's available the public can see?
Yeah, I haven't presented that yet. Usually our Public Works makes a recommendation to me and then we present that to council. I haven't received that as well.
Okay. And the third item is, it looks like Fairway Ford up here is starting to improve their parking lot to the north. Is that the case? Have they applied
Yeah,
for
renovation of the whole facility up there that's underway.
Well, it looks like they're extending paving to the north by,
Yeah,
50 to 100 feet.
25 feet or so.
are they going to be required to put in any detention pond for that
Yeah, in
extension?
fact, they're working on that as we speak. If you go out there, you'll see the half-moon-shaped culvert. They're putting in I don't remember the distance, 400, 300 and some feet of detention in that back area.
Similar to what went to the east of 46 there, the elliptical culvert?
Right. Yeah, they're out there now, and if you want to see it, you can actually see the work in progress.
Thank you, Mr. Eastman.
Something which they haven't had previously.
Okay, under old business, there is none. Under new business, item A, as provisions of section 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move to dispense with the requirement of 2 readings of the proposed ordinance and authorize adoption of same upon its first reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Morvay. Discussion?
Question,
Question?
if I may?
Sure.
And excuse me for being late. I need to apologize to members of council. I got tied
That's
up in
fine.
traffic in Canton. At any rate, my question had to do with the street CM&R personal services. In the memo, I think there was a reference to hiring a summer employee. Is that $10,000 the cost for the summer employee for the summer?
Yes.
Okay. What rate of pay does that individual?
$10 an hour.
Okay.
No benefits tied to that.
No, and benefits tied to that, or the
No,
$10
no benefits.
includes the benefit?
We do have to, we're compelled to pay PERS, but there's no hospitalization, sick leave, that type of benefit tied to that. And it's only a 6-week, I believe, or 8-week program.
Okay, if we'd be looking at a 6 or 8 week period program, and I guess I calculated on 3 months, it'd have been 480 hours at $10 an hour. It'd only be $4,800. So I was just wondering where the $10,000 number came from.
Yeah, no, it's just one person is what we're looking at, and again, it's just money that we set aside for the hiring of that person without doing, I guess, an in-depth calculation. Whatever money is not used would be returned back.
Okay. Okay. Will the clerk please call a roll on that?
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Cosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
Yes.
Okay, and as for division section of 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move that the council dispense with the requirement of full reading of the proposed ordinance and authorized by its title only. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Dragish, discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Cosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
Yes.
Mr. Dragish.
Yes, under new business A, an ordinance amending ordinance 2014-13, annual appropriation ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Canfield, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2014.
Okay. Second. Second, Mr. Morvay. Discussion? If not, clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Cosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
Yes.
The number is?
2014-20.
Thank you very much. Item number B, or item letter B, as per the division of section 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move that dispense with the requirement of 2 readings of the proposed ordinance and authorize adoption of the same upon its first reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Morvay, discussion? There being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Cosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
Yes.
And as per the provisions of section 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move that the council dispense with the requirement of full reading of the proposed ordinance and authorized by its title only. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Morvay, discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
Need for doing this in one reading? I mean, in referral to Mr. McKee's request, I mean, is there a reason to do this in one reading as opposed to doing it two?
No? You request 2 readings?
Well, I know, I guess I'm asking the manager. I mean,
Yeah, just, I guess the one issue you highlighted was the only one that really we'd like to get some help out there, because Todd's really been pressed with the winter, trying to get the green in shape, and there's going to be a lot of grass cutting coming up. I did get notice one of our newest hires, actually our newest hire in Public Works, has turned in his resignation, so we'll be hiring off the list. They have a civil service list, but we've got to go through that process as well to find the next candidate for that position. So he's really running short-staffed. That's the only urgent issue on there. There's nothing that absolutely has a deadline otherwise.
That ordinance has been passed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
That's
B.
Declaring.
just talking to
I'm
surplus.
sorry, I missed that. I thought we did the first reading.
That mean?
No, again, that would coincide with the purchase as well, that we would be using some of those vehicles as trade for the purchase. That would be the only reason I
Okay.
would ask that it be done in one reading.
Might I make a suggestion in that? And there is a spelling error in the title. Declaring.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Pardon me? DECL?
Del Caring.
Del Caring.
It's French.
Isn't the title?
Mr. Del Caring, yeah. Mr. Del
Oh, yours is? Okay, in that case.
Correct. I have declaring surplus. Regardless, we'll get it right.
So, all right, wait a minute. We have to call roll first. Clerk, you call roll on that first?
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Cosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
Yes.
Okay, now, Mr. Morvay. Reading legislation.
Did you read the?
No, I did. No, I did that. You're okay.
Okay.
Very good.
We are?
You ready to read it now?
You sure?
I'm sure. We're all set. Thank you, John.
Patty, are we on track for the ordinance? We haven't.
Somebody has to read it, right?
Okay, all right. Mr. Chairman, I have an ordinance declaring surplus property and authorizing its disposal. I move for passage.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mayor.
Question.
Discussion?
Do we know which one of these vehicles which vehicles we are trading in and which vehicles we are selling outright, or?
Chief, do you have, which ones are being traded in? All the vehicles? All? Yes. Okay, then, all of them, then.
Well, I'm going to presume that you're not trading in the International, and you're not trading in the New Holland.
The vehicles, all the
The Chief's
vehicles,
not in
the
here.
truck, I believe, is being traded in, and the backhoe will probably be gone to public auction. I have to check on that to verify it.
Okay, so the first four vehicles are being traded. Is that right? The Honda Civic, Charger,
And
2007 Charger, 2007 Charger, those are being traded.
Yes.
The Silverado is being traded.
Yes.
Okay.
but not the International.
No, that's Street Public Works.
Okay, but is that being traded against?
That's being traded.
Against the, okay.
Tractor, the backhoe and the loader lifter, I don't believe those are being traded, but I can verify that.
Okay, and if not being traded, then obviously we'll have a bid advertisement, that kind of thing. Okay, thank you.
But again, at this point, we're not ready to sell or trade that because the other one's not in.
Okay.
Very good. Anything else? If not, clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Cosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
Yes.
And the number is?
That is 2014-21.
Thank you, clerk. Item C, as for provisions of the section 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move to dispense with requirement of 2 readings of the proposed ordinance and authorize adoption of the same upon its first reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mayor, discussion? There being none, the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Cosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
Yes.
And as for the provision of section 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move the council dispense with the requirement of full reading of the proposed ordinance and authorized by its title only. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Mr. Dragish, that was fast, wasn't it? Discussion?
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
No? Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Cosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor.
I have an ordinance authorizing the city manager to purchase a vehicle and equipment. I move for passage.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Morvay, discussion?
Question?
Question by Mr. Tisch.
Do we have a set of specifications that were used for this vehicle? Is there a set of specifications?
I would ask the city
Is there a set
manager a question. I'm
is there a
sorry.
set of specifications for this vehicle that were used?
Do you want a copy of those you're asking, or?
Well, yeah, because I've got two questions.
Okay.
One, did the specifications include the strobe package in some fashion? Because it seems as though we're doing two things in this ordinance. One is purchasing a vehicle.
One's just purchasing the vehicle, and then the strobe package is a separate item. The purchase of the vehicle is through the state purchase program, or better than the state purchase program.
Well, it looks like that's going through Bob and Chuck Eddy. Is that not correct?
Right. But
Okay. And the strobe package, is that going through Bob and Chuck Eddy as well?
No, that would be separate.
Should we have separate ordinances for that?
Not in the past. It's actually under the bidding threshold for the package.
Okay, I guess, again, the question is, we're paying Bob and Chuck Eddy X number of dollars for one item. Are we paying Bob and Chuck Eddy the cost of the strobe package as well?
No, just the vehicle purchase would be Bob and Chuck Eddy. The strobe package is independent. There's, I think, 2 vendors involved in that.
I see your concern, though. I mean, if you look at Section 1, and I apologize for not catching this when I read it the first time. Section 1 says we're purchasing certain items from Bob and Chuck Eddy.
Correct.
And Section 2 talks about the cost of the purchase, and it's a Cherokee and a strobe package. So the implication is that you're purchasing both of those from Bob and Chuck Eddy. How about if we modify Section 1 to read, the city manager is authorized to purchase a vehicle and equipment pursuant to the state purchasing bid contract, price and specifications from Chuck and Bob Eddy's Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and from, who we buy the strobe package from?
All public safety.
And from Hall Public Safety. And the cost of the purchase of 2003. I think that would be fine then, if we just add comma, and from Hall Public Safety. Does that clarify your concern?
However you're comfortable,
Yeah,
I'm fine. I just, as I'm reading this,
Yeah, very good.
I was taking it as though both purchases were coming from Bob and Chuck Eddy. And then it gets back to my original question was, do we have a set of specifications? And I guess to follow that up then, was the strobe package in the set of specifications?
Good question. Very good.
All right, so you're going to need to amend the ordinance. Where are you at in the process now?
Well, we're up for the vote right now. So before we vote on the ordinance, we've got to amend it.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I would propose that we amend the ordinance by inserting the language as stipulated by the city attorney.
That's the best way to handle it.
There you go.
With that, no second that. All right, so, Mark, do we have to call the roll for the amendment first?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, the clerk, please call the roll on that one.
Okay. Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Kosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we'll vote on the ordinance itself now, correct?
As read.
Correct.
As read, all right.
As amended.
As recommended, go ahead.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Kosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
Yes.
Okay, that takes care of that one now, too. All right, item D is the motion. As per the provisions in section 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move that council dispense with the requirement of a full reading of the proposed motion and authorized by its title only. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Mr. Morvay. Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Kosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Dragish, can you read that?
Yes, indeed. Letter D, a motion changing time and dates of council meetings for the months of July and August pursuant to section 3.09 of the Charter of the City of Canfield.
Okay. Second, Mr. Morvay. Any discussion on that?
Yeah, just so that it's record, the meeting for July shall be held on July 9th, 2014. Caucus will begin at 6 o'clock, meeting to convene at the conclusion of the caucus. And meeting for August shall be held August 20th, 2014. Caucus shall begin at 6 o'clock, meeting convene at the conclusion of the caucus.
Thank you, Mr. Morvay. Okay, the clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Kosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
Yes.
Thank you. And the number is?
2014-10.
Thank you. Under Councilman's comments this evening, Mr. Tisch.
First of all, I guess I'd like to again apologize to members of the council for being late. And I'd like to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day, and please remember our veterans and those who have given their all for us. Freedom is not free, there is a cost.
Very good, Mr. Tisch. Mr. Dragish. Okay. Mr. Morvay.
Just if I could digress, just did we get a number for the ordinance of the purchase of the vehicle?
No, we didn't get that?
We should probably put that in the
With
record.
the number, what was that, C?
It was
C.
Yeah, it should have been 22.
Sorry?
The number for item C.
It was 2014-22.
Thank you so much. Sorry for missing that, guys.
We probably should have that in the record.
Yes, you have to. Thank you very much. Anything else for me, Mr. Dragish?
God bless our veterans and the freedoms that we have in this country. I'm very proud to be an American and very proud to serve on this council for the city of Canfield.
Well said, Mr. Morvay. Mayor.
I only have one comment. In Saturday's paper, The Vindicator, there was an article about a lady named Kay Lavelle, and the byline is Austintown woman to be inducted in the Ohio Senior Citizens Hall of Fame. Kay Lavelle is a retired sheriff's deputy. She heads up the senior contact program in Mahoning County. Austintown does an excellent job of contacting their seniors once a week or twice a week, as the case may be. And you're just checking to see that they're okay. We're looking for bruises. We're looking for... My daughter came and took my Social Security check like she always does. Do they have enough to eat? We have the capability of getting Meals on Wheels, and a lot of programs are out there. What I would have liked to have seen in this article was, it said surrounding communities. The surrounding community is Canfield. The police department, through their auxiliary, does an excellent job. I think we presently contact about 10 people in Canfield once a week. And I was part of that program when I was an auxiliary. It's very rewarding to just check on people and help them get through the week. And it brings joy into their life that somebody cares about them. So anyway, I just wanted to make that known to the city of Canfield that we're doing an outstanding job, the police department, of contacting the seniors when they apply to the sheriff's department and are qualified by the sheriff's department. That's all I have.
Mayor, don't they have to submit that application to the city of Canfield as well?
No, to the sheriff.
The sheriff and the sheriff
qualifies them.
Okay.
And then tells us about them, and we pick them up.
Very good.
Excellent program. Very good.
Excellent program, guys.
Very good rules set too. All right, we are going to adjourn to executive session for the reason to threaten our pending litigation. Need a motion for that.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we move to executive session for the purpose of pending and imminent litigation.
Second, Mr. Morvay. Do I can clerk call the roll?
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Cosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Tisch?
Okay, we will adjourn.
The meeting will adjourn after we come back.
We will adjourn after the meeting. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
How are you going?
Thank you for that, Mark.
You're welcome.
And Mr. Tisch.